Now, nearly 6 decades after Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech, citizens in the United States of America fear that their civil rights could actually be stripped off. Now, thousands of protesters gathered on the 58th anniversary of the 1963 Civil Rights March led by the son of Martin Luther King Jr. The protesters demanded for protection of their voting rights. The protests are taking place in the wake of a proposed bill by the Republicans in Georgia and Texas, which will restrict mail-in ballots and drop boxes, which play an influential role in getting African Americans to come forth and vote. The marches were held in several cities, including in Phoenix, Miami, and also in Atlanta, amongst others. Meanwhile, protesters in Washington, D.C. carried Black Lives Matter flags and called for voting rights legislations in the same square where Martin Luther King Jr. had given the I Have a Dream speech.
My father said some very famous words 58 years ago. It was a hot day, just like this one, and the crowd was getting restless. So he pushed aside his prepared speech and started talking about a dream. I believe his words have remained so powerful after all these years because he described a vision for the way America ought to be. He issued a challenge to this country to live up to the ideals in its founding documents. Like all of us, he had read those words since he was a child.
Now, the Republican attempts to bring in the legislation come at a time when 34 states are preparing for the midterm elections next year and in what will be a very crucial race for the U.S. Senate. The 2020 elections saw 4 Republican-dominated states, including Georgia and Pennsylvania, swing in favor of the current President Joe Biden, following which allegations of rigging were in fact leveled against the Democrats. However, Trump's allegations were shot down by the court. To counter the proposed Republican bill, Democrats passed the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act in the House of Representatives, which is the lower house of the U.S. Congress. The John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act aims to restore the 1965 voting rights diluted by a 2013 Supreme Court verdict. If this act can make headway in the U.S. Senate, any change in the voting rights made by the Republicans in states governed by them will have to be approved by the federal government, a procedure known as pre-clearance. It will also strengthen certain sections under the existing Voting Rights Act. However, a tough challenge awaits the Democrats, as the act is yet to be passed in the U.S. Senate. But neither party has a clear majority. The U.S. Senate is divided 50-50 along party lines, and with filibuster rules, Democrats need to secure the votes of at least about 10 Republicans to advance this measure.
People died to give us the right to vote. People spent nights in jail to give us the right to vote. People lost their lives to get us the right to vote. Medgar Evers was shot down in his driveway with 4 children inside to give us the right to vote. There is no filibuster that can stand in the way of a people determined to get their rights. And that's why in the blistering heat, we came to Washington to say, we are not going to let you filibuster away our voter protection.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.